I know that we tend to hate fractions, but this is kind of just some basic algebra. So don't panic. Use the rules of fractions. Um, the most annoying thing here is that we have to add and subtract fractions, which is honestly the hardest thing that we can do with them. So we just need to make sure we're okay with the rules. When we have a common denominator, like we do in the left side, we can just combine the tops and be done and keep the bottom. So 7/9 minus 4/9, that's going to be 3/9, and so 3/9 x. Now, out of habit, it's really good to know when we have a fraction that can be reduced. It just makes our lives easier. So I'm going to just kind of jump ahead and say, okay, 3/9, that's really 1/3. Right, let's reduce fractions. Good habit to be in always. Your teacher will definitely prefer it. Now on the right side, we've got a bit of a problem, right? We don't have a common denominator. So we can't really do anything until we get a common denominator. And so we need to use multiplication to do that. So we need to look at this and say, okay, I need a number that is divisible by both 4 and 12. And that number is 12. So I would look at this and say, okay, I need to take my 1/4 and my 5/12, I'm just rewriting, and multiply so that I can turn those fourths into twelfths. So I would multiply by 3/3. And remember, the reason we're allowed to do this, normally in algebra, whenever we do some sort of multiplication or addition, we always want to balance it out on the other side. We're not doing that here. In fact, we're not even doing any balancing with the other term on this side. The reason is that this is a self-balancing move. Because what's 3/3 equal to? It's equal to 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So what we're really doing here is we're just multiplying by 1. But what we're doing in this move is we are changing the way that 1/4 looks, but we're retaining the value. It is still 1/4 because look, now we have 3/12, and 3/12, if we simplify that, would be 1/4. So this is kind of weird. And we got to get used to this with fractions. This is why people, I think, have so much trouble, is we're kind of sometimes forced to deal with contradicting ideas or contradicting rules, right? I said with the red side that we always want to get in the habit of reducing our fractions. It's a good habit to get into. But in order to add and subtract fractions, sometimes we need to unreduce a fraction. We need to make it bigger so that we can work with it. So that's kind of contradictory. But it's just fractions. It's okay. It's, once you get used to it and accept it, it makes sense. And in all cases, a lot of what we're doing by making fractions bigger and smaller is just multiplying or dividing by 1. So it doesn't mathematically make that much of a difference. So let's rewrite things here. We've got now 1/3 x. We can now add these the same way we added the other ones before because we have a common denominator. So that's going to be 8/12. And, we should probably reduce. So what goes into both of those numbers, if you have trouble reducing fractions, my advice is to break them up into factors. And we can see that 8 is really 4 times 2, and 12 is really 4 times 3. So there's a 4 on the top, a 4 on the bottom. They go away, and the leftovers stick around. So 1/3 x is equal to 2/3. And you might just be able to see it at this point, but mathematically, in order to get x by itself, whenever we have a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal to move it over. So if we have something being multiplied by a fraction, flip the fraction upside down, we're going to multiply by that value, and that's going to move it. So here we do need to do it to both sides. And the reason this works is that a 3 on the top, a 3 on the bottom reduces that fraction. So we're just left with x. And same thing on this side, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, reduce. And what's left? 2 over 1, which is just 2. And that's the answer. You don't really want this to take as long as it did us right now to go over it. I just really took my time because I wanted to, just make sure if you struggled on this because you didn't know the fraction rules, this kind of served as a refresher for you. And so I'll just say that the strategy is to memorize. We really just need to be confident with fractions. The rules are a little different than normal numbers, but not that different, and we just need to be comfortable with them. Most of the time, we are allowed to just think of fractions as division and then it kind of fits more nicely into our normal number realm and number sense. If you are nervous about fractions, if you struggled with this, I highly recommend going on Khan Academy. You can practice fractions forever and ever. Go back to not just the SAT stuff, but the normal like fraction lessons for when kids are learning them in school. It might help you to go back to basics and relearn this so that fractions don't scare you. They're actually not that scary once you're comfortable with the rules.